Right. Morning to everybody. Some of you guys I know very well, and others I don't know so well. I think we haven't seen each other for a long, long time. Um, this session is the second session of our environmental training. It'll be run by our chairman of the subcommittee, which is Anthony. Um, Maybe I just need to say a few things before I start. Um, the environmental issue has changed considerably, and we're very proud of the way we're going, and we've had very good input from people that's in this meeting, and very positive input. So I must thank you all for that. What we've also started doing in Aspasa is we get willing people that are eager to help. And Anthony was one of the willing people that was eager to help. We've got Dolan from AFISAM, who's the engineer. He's pushing young professionals. Uh, Tomorrow, Letitia is chairing Women in Mining for me, so I'm pulling her in. So we're using specialist people in the field, people that are eager to help, and let them also have a role to play. So that we didn't do much in the old days when we used to go to conference rooms and sit there, but now we hand it over and people then run with it. And it's so great to see this new way of working and the way we're winning. So after this meeting, Annika has recorded the first one and the second one. So maybe what we can do is just take one of them and maybe today's, and then what she does is we put it on YouTube, but we'll also do the slides that Anthony does today, covers the same slides as previously. Um, some of the people that are in today couldn't make it the previous time. And if push comes to shove, and for example, a company wants to have a little session with 5 or 6 of their managers, we can do that too. We'll ask Annika to set it up or get a date, and we'll run that internally. Because there might be a company that says, we would like you to focus on X, Y, and Z, which did happen in the past, and can you do it for us, adding it to this audit? So that happens. We've had that request in the past. So we'll do it. We could do it that way. So by the end of this week, what's today's Wednesday, by end of this Monday or so, we can have the YouTube link plus the slides so that anybody in a company can also maybe call a meeting and let their managers and some of their people sit in and participate and see what we're doing. This is not a secretive thing. It's an open for all type of concept that we're dealing with. So that's just a bit of an introduction. And as I said, tomorrow we've got Women in Mining. We've got, I think Annika said earlier this morning to me, we're just over 30. Please, anybody in your company, and it's not a negative woman in mining. I've had so many people criticize us about that. It's also bringing in the young professional females, and I think that's crucial because young professionals is not males only; it's also females. Anybody that's a young professional must be pulled in to that young professionals subcommittee that we've started. So that's crucial. So if you haven't entered for tomorrow, and it's not only women clicking in there, I'm also sitting in it. It's very good to listen to the problems, and maybe you don't know, but I'm very pro female in the workplace. I was a trade unionist in the old days, in the old South Africa, and I used to fight for that. And I actually got maternity leave through and legislation at that stage. So yes, it wasn't allowed, and we got it through after many fights. So yes, I'm asking that if there's men, please click in tomorrow. If you don't have the click, ask Annika, send email to office at Aspasa. We've got a whole lot of meetings coming up the day after or tomorrow too. I think it's tomorrow. Annika will just check for us. We're also having one about security, mafia, communities. There's a big problem going on, and please click into that. Tell your people to join. Annika can send the link out again. It's crucial. Those are things that affect us in the business in these days. We all saw what happened, and it's still happening in some areas in KZN and so forth, which has done a lot of damage. So as an introduction, while I've got opportunity to talk, and you all senior people, so please share what we're doing with others in the company. Ask them to join and click into the meeting so that we have a good representation and sharing of information. It's a quick way. Anthony, normally hour and a half, then we're finished with this. So this is the second environmental one. We didn't send anything out because otherwise people wouldn't click into this one. But now we're going to send it out and maybe use it in your company and share it with others because it'll be on YouTube. And Anneke can always explain. But it's easy. You just go to YouTube, you click on Aspasa, and then you look for environmental training. So I also must just thank Anthony for all the hard work he's done. I think this is like the last of his tasks. I don't know if we'll have a further environmental meeting. Sorry, let me just put this phone off. It always rings when I'm talking. So I don't think we'll have another meeting. What we'll do now is we'll get the dates for next year and we'll start planning around the dates so that we uh, uh, we have the dates and we share that in November-ish and the people can prepare. So I think that's roughly it. Letitia just asked to leave for a few seconds. She'll come back now. And I think I'm going to hand over to Anthony. At the end, I think Anthony will close off. I'll be in on this, but I've just got to talk to my chairman. I see he's phoning me and looking for me, and so forth. I think we all know the rules of Teams, mics off, faces off, and all those nice things. Anthony, thanks. And at this stage, thanks for all the hard work you did in this specific specialist field. Anthony is a very good quarry manager in my book, and he's also finalizing his degree in environmental issues. So that's what we needed. We needed somebody who knows what goes on in a quarry. And we're getting very good feedback at this stage about what we're going to do from next year on and so forth. Anthony, I'm going to hand over to you, and then I'm going to shut her up a bit. And I hope it goes well. People, thanks for joining and keep well. Thanks.
Thank you, Nico. Just before you go, just mention the anti-competitive behavior, please.
Oh, yes. Yes, you are. We always record that. Sorry. Thanks for reminding me. I'm so used to it, I forget it. But I think, let me just quickly tell you, this program, this session is recorded. The anti-competitive thing is that due to the Competition Commission and all the rules we have, we don't allow people colluding. And it's crucial that we don't collude. And I can say to you that Aspasa has been monitored. I know that, but we've never stepped over the line. So what we do is we keep to the business of the day. We don't say, okay, things that could be anti-competitive. So I think if you have a problem with it, you put your hand up and you say, listen, I'm not happy with your discussions now. That's recorded then. And then secondly, you leave the meeting. So that you can't be prosecuted with us, sorry. That's just on the lighter side. So it's crucial that we're not colluding and we're not doing anything wrong. We're dealing with environmental issues today. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Nico, and thank you everybody for joining, and welcome to the new faces. There are quite a few new folk on the calls, and I hope that you benefit from what I'm going to share with you. I'm just going to get the presentation up. Let's see where we go. Can you see it?
Not yet.
There we are.
Not yet? Still not? Is it there?
It's small, but it's there.
And now?
Try and put it on presentation mode, Anthony.
I've done that. It should come through now.
Yeah, looks good.
Is it there? Okay. All right, folks. Yes, once again, a very warm welcome to everybody, and let's start off with this. The goal of the environmental audits, and this was what was put to us on the subcommittee, just for the folk who haven't been involved in this process. It was decided a while ago to form the subcommittee, and during that decision and that process, the environmental compliance audits, there was a requirement for it in the industry, and what was decided was that we needed an environmental audit for quarries by the membership, and it was designed in that way. So the goal was to achieve environmental compliance for Aspasa members. We wanted to have a user-friendly and a practical compliance audit. And the big thing was to equip site managers with the correct information and knowledge to be able to deal with authorities and various interested and affected stakeholders. I think just to stick on that point for a bit, we all know, and those that don't, you are most certainly going to know, that the environmental issues are starting to come to the fore, very much in the same sort of vein as what health and safety was a couple of years. And we're seeing that a lot of interested and affected stakeholders, IAPs, are becoming big issues in operations across the country. So that was what part of this was about. We designed an audit. It was based, and just as a bit of background for the folk who don't know it was based on the previous about face audit structure. However, we modified that. We used the same structure, and we modified it so that people didn't have to reinvent the wheel and get all their files. They could use existing information that was on site to get this audit done. We then did a dry run. Very kindly, we were given access to one of the Afrimat sites here in Nelspruit, and we did the full audit. Nico and myself and Letitia was there, and we had the managers from the site, and we got a very, very positive response from that. It went off very nicely. We did both sections. Now, just for a bit of information, the audits are going to be split into two. One is a remote audit, which is a compliance audit, and the other will be an on-site audit. And those will be done biannually. So you will only have somebody visiting your site every second year. During our meetings, the committee meetings, subcommittee at least, we were going to start the audits in the second half of 2021, but there was a concern raised by a number of the members, and it was basically there was a lot of COVID fatigue. I think everybody is familiar with it, and I think quite a relevant point. So it was decided that we would start off in 2022 in January with these audits. Then we had a request for a workshop for managers. You'll see why managers are quite prominent in this. The audit's not a tick box exercise, but it's a tool that we've designed so that people can achieve compliance. And yeah, the scores, certainly from the dry run, was a very good reflection of the level of compliance on that site. As I mentioned earlier on, environmental issues are becoming quite a concern, both globally and nationally. This workshop is designed to assist the managers to prepare for their audits, and also to understand what the requirements are. As I mentioned earlier on, we're using the existing about face information. So to reduce the workload, all that people have to do really is to update those files, and there are one or two new components in that which will fit in there. We've designed this to empower managers and to equip them with the necessary tools. If somebody walks in, an NGO or a community or a stakeholder walks into a manager's office, the purpose of the audit is to really equip him so that he's able to, so he or she, I don't want to be accused of being sexist here, it's Women's Month, he or she has got the necessary tools and knowledge to be able to deal with those people, certainly on a first-hand basis. We're not expecting the guys to be environmental specialists. Nico makes the distinction very clear when he says it's become so complex. If you want a lawyer for a divorce case, you go to a lawyer who specializes in those. You don't go to a guy who's a commercial lawyer. And it's pretty much the same thing with the environmental side. We've got some specialists on the call, and guys know what it's about. So that's what we really just want managers to know what is going on. When we designed this audit, it was based on a generic flow. I'll show that now. Of basically what we looked at there was every operation does the same thing in one way or another, and at some stage of the operation's lifespan. So we've used that. And then the weighting was also agreed. We put that together, and people could see, and see. We emphasized certain areas which will be heavily weighted, and others will be less. So this is the generic flow of operations, starting at the top left-hand corner. I think you're all familiar with what happens if you have a greenfield operation, and it goes from left to right, down, back, and up to mine closure. You'll notice that we included there, this was an inclusion that came afterwards, SLPs, communities, neighbors, and that sort of thing, which has become a very, very important part of any operation. But as you can see there, it's the normal list of operations and activities that occur on most, in fact, on all quarries. Moving on to the weighting, you'll see there, there are two sections. The one on the left, that is the compliance side, that will be done remotely. Things like EMPRs, mining rights, mine plans, managers' presentations, social labor plans, financial provisions, that sort of thing, all carry pretty high rates. The manager's presentation is probably the most important part of this whole audit, because if that is done properly, it answers a huge portion of this audit, and it also empowers the manager to know exactly what's going on. So the purpose of this workshop and the previous one was really to equip the guys so that they are able to give us a good presentation and to showcase their operations as well. If we look at the right-hand side, that will be the physical aspect, the physical audit. And I think the weighting there speaks for itself. Again, you'll notice on the second last line there, we've included site management and staff as under environmental awareness. Again, we're not expecting people to be specialists, but they must have an idea and a knowledge of what is going on. And then just above that, satellite industries. That was included because of the risk that satellite industries pose to operations. We're referring here specifically to ready-mix plants, asphalt plants, brick-making plants, etc., that are on mining sites. The environmental person in control is responsible for any pollution or environmental damage that might occur on those sites. So it's an area that we need to focus on and get folks to have a look at. And then, of course, there's the same things, alien vegetation, there's community management, air, dust, noise control, all the normal things that happen on a day-to-day basis that people know. And then right at the top is mining boundaries. What has been noted in previous audits, not the ones we did, was that a lot of operations actually don't know where their mining boundaries are. And this has led to them, becoming zamazamas and going outside their mining areas. So we just want to protect that. You'll see basically everything in this audit is designed to protect the operation from being either closed or stopped or charged with environmental negligence. So those are the things that people should focus on is on this sheet. The manager's presentation, as I mentioned earlier on, it's designed, it's intended certainly for the manager to show us what he knows. It comprises of the documentation, the legal documentation, and he should, or she, or they should have a good understanding of these documents and the compliance requirements. It's you've got to have the knowledge of the satellite industries, as I spoke about earlier on, and then you need to be able to identify you're good, you're bad, you're ugly, because that just demonstrates to the auditor that you know what's going on site. So there's no point in hiding it. It will come out. Somebody will see it. Hopefully the right people see it, not the wrong people. And then also the action plan that to address the bad and the ugly, on your site. And then we encourage the teams to share their achievements. Even small things make a big difference, and it just demonstrates the commitment to the environmental issues. Some of you will know who that plant is, Felix. I don't know if you recognize it, but yeah, I put that in just as an example of a satellite industry. In the top part of the picture, it's an asphalt plant. This is just for discussion purposes. That site is not on the actual mining site, but a lot of companies and a lot of operations would have something like that on their mining site, and that is what needs to be looked at. Moving on the manager's presentation, the guys are encouraged to include their actions, the ways they communicate with community groups, meetings, etc. All your innovative ideas, please share them with the auditor. It just shows that you are proactive and not reactive. Things like recycling projects, waste reduction programs, idling reduction systems, power factor corrections, that sort of thing. Those are all very, very topical things in environmental affairs, and how can we reduce our impact as an industry on the environment. And then we strongly encourage managers not to delegate this presentation to someone else. It is important that they do it, they take ownership of it, and please encourage them to do this presentation themselves so that the auditor can get the idea of that the manager actually knows what's going on. And then last but not least on this one is the opportunity to showcase your operation. Be proud of it. Most people are proud of their sites. And it is, let's brag a bit. There's so much negativity out there and so many people trying to beat you down. Use this platform to actually showcase what you've done. The audit content, we referred to it earlier on. It's EMPs and the understanding of it, and that's an important part of it. And the performance assessments, environmental policies, your social labor plan and the review, your stakeholder management and engagement, and again, mine boundaries. This comes in very strongly all the time. Now, all these things that we are looking at here can result, if they're not in place, can result in you being closed down or losing your license for that matter. So that's, as I mentioned earlier on, It's to keep us compliant. Your dust and noise testing, your quarterly reports, waste management, end user certificates on the on waste management, your waste volumes, recycling measures, all that sort of thing it's important, and these are big things that must be highlighted. Water management, and that includes your licenses, your water quality testing, the impact that you're having on your neighbor boundary, river or stream or drainage line, usage volumes, that sort of thing. Your discharge control and your measures to mitigate sedimentation into the river next door to you. These are things that need to be looked at, and the auditor is definitely going to have a look at that when they do the on-site visit. And then your environmental training and awareness for management and staff and stakeholders. It's important that people have some form of training and that we keep this alive. Appointments, you all know what the various appointments are required. It's your environmental responsible person responsible for waste, and there's a whole host of them. We're not going to go into each one of them. People should know by this stage what it's about. Your rehabilitation plans, financial provisions, and that's going to be a big one in the next year. Whoever's not aware of the new requirements on financial provisions, I had a discussion with Craig and with Felix this week. It's going to have enormous impacts on the operations and the companies. So yeah, let's get those things sorted out. Then your submission of assessments, things like the DMR 128, your quarterly reports, all those legal requirements, those will be looked at as well. And then again, I underline this again, any other topics the manager might think are relevant, would like to share, I think it just shows commitment and it shows involvement and proactivity. So please use this platform, to brag a bit. Why not? It's important. The physical site audit, I think it's pretty much what one would normally expect. Your presence of waste, litter, environmental damage, all that sort of thing. I think we've all had enough audits to know that your first impressions are always the ones that last. If somebody arrives at your site and it's neat and tidy and clean, it creates a very good impression, and you generally have a good audit. If there's rubbish lying all over the place and it looks like a dog's breakfast, it won't be so nice. So yeah, that's on the physical side. The mining boundaries have to be identified by management and staff. People must know where to go and where they can't go. It's important, and I think that also prevents people from mining outside of the boundaries, which is just an issue. You really don't want to get involved in Section 102s and the likes thereof. We've got a Craig on the line who's been trying to sort out a 102 for us, and it's an absolute nightmare with the DMR. Really, he's aged 10 years, I think, on that one. Then water management, stormwater runoffs, erosions, the impact on neighboring water systems, your quality testing. Is it being done? Is it being done correctly? All that sort of thing. Then, of course, the big one is waste management. We all generate waste. How do we reduce it? How do we recycle? How do we dispose of it, etc. Now, these are all things that we looked at when we did the dry run, and it was very successful. We used this sort of format to go through the audit. Oil traps and recovery systems, those are always things on site. Those are always a bit of the nasties that one doesn't look at, and they get hidden away. But yeah, the auditor will be looking at those. Some issues to be aware of. A picture can paint a thousand, as they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words. This is just a picture I took a number of years ago, and it demonstrates to you there's a whole lot of nonsense going on here. Waste management, alien vegetation control, mining boundaries, access control, all that sort of thing, stormwater management. And these are things that the auditor will be looking at. Your rehabilitation, topsoil reserves, which is a legal requirement. You have to have that. Your dust buckets, are they in the right places? Are they the right design? Is it not a 2-liter Coke bottle being cut off and stuck on a pole somewhere? You know, these are things that need to be looked at to ensure that whatever testing is being done is done correctly, and that the results reflect the actual issues on site. I think, you know, it's important that folk know if you don't measure it, if you don't measure it, you can't fix it. You don't know what's wrong, and if it's done correctly, at least you have the information to be able to put actions in place and to get it sorted out. Dust and exhaust emissions on site, dust repression systems and the effectiveness thereof, water leaks, water wastage, it comes back to the water management. Dust suppression comes back to the dust. You'll see that everything is interlinked. Then alien vegetation and control programs. Are we doing something about it? A lot of quarries have got big gaps there. We do disturb the soil. We scratch up, we dig up, we blast up, we do all sorts of things. But we need to ensure that the right vegetation is put back in place, not your alien vegetation. Protected species, sensitive ecological areas, that's also a big one. Again, mine boundary identification, fencing and signage. You're probably all aware of that incident that happened up on at Gauteng recently, where 2 children drowned in an old borrow pit. Yeah, you know, we are liable for that, and we need to make sure that the signage is in place. Fencing is always difficult because we know we put it up tonight, tomorrow it's gone, but you've got to make a plan. It doesn't take away your liability. Then electricity saving measures. I think we're all very conscious of energy reduction. Day-night switches, LED lights, variable speed drives, etc. Are those on site? Are they being utilized? Are they working? Power factor corrections, etc. Are those all in place? Then moving to your hazardous material, your spill control measures, your storage facilities. Basically, you know, are those in place? Are they being managed properly? Are they being maintained? Are the drain valves locked, etc.? All those things. Do you have spill kits on site? What happens if you have a major spill? You know, are you proactive in that area? Then the overall understanding of physical environmental compliance requirements, and the sites, the staff on site, if their understanding is there. And then again, you know, share your ideas with the auditor. If you've had some nice, good ideas, why not? Let's brag about it. Blasting, that's always something that has an impact on your surrounds and your neighbors. That will be looked at. You know, vibrations, air blasts, noise, dust, etc., fly rock incidents. Those are always there, and they do create a huge problem for an operation if they're not managed properly. So the auditor is going to be looking at what do you do around those operations. You have to blast, we know that. Everybody does it, whether we like it or not, but how do you manage it? It's really, you know, the whole thing, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And, you know, how do you address these things? Then reporting of environmental incidents. The audit document, if you say you've had no environmental audits, you get naught, because that's rubbish. We all know that that's rubbish. There are environmental incidents. They might be minor, they might be not so minor, but what we're trying to encourage here is sites to report things and to be more transparent with what has happened there. And then the recording and actions of neighbor complaints. So those two points there will basically go hand in hand. How did you look after that? How did you record it? What did you do when something went wrong? And have you managed to sort it out? A little bit of a picture here. Hazardous material storage, as you can see, an absolute nightmare. A horrible little corner there. This was taken a long time ago. There certainly won't be like that today, because people are just a lot more aware. But yeah, this is the sort of thing that you will find out there. And what are you doing to actually sort that out? How are you managing it? And why is it happening? So those are the things, just as an idea, and just something to look at. Then in conclusion, really, make use of the audit, please. It helps you achieve compliance. Existing information, as I mentioned, from the about face audits must be used, because we're going to use the same referencing system. The audit is there to assist site managers and their teams. And really, folks, Aspasa is here to help you achieve compliance. And let's, get the sustainable utilization concept going, and so that we can operate into the future with relative ease. That pretty much comes to the end of what I have to say. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Very quiet. Nothing. Marie?
I'm still processing, thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Mandla, anything from your side?
No, I'm fine. I think I'm covered.
Okay, great stuff. Craig, you should have something.
Anthony, you put me on the spot a bit there.
You should know me by now. I'm going to do
that. One thing I did just pick up in your presentation, maybe just a clarification point. I see that when you speak about sort of dust and dust monitoring, that's obviously something that is typically a concern at quarries that are under care and maintenance. And it's perhaps important to point, just to reiterate what you said, that quarries that are dormant or quarries that are under care and maintenance are still very much have a legislative responsibility to be compliant. And you did mention there it's a quarterly reporting for the dust. I might be speaking under correction, but I think it's a monthly reporting to the air quality authorities, whoever they may be. It obviously varies between sort of provincial and district municipality. But I had just picked up on my travels across, irrespective of the industry, that is something that often sort of just slips through the net of compliance.
I think it's a very pertinent point, because people tend to forget these little things that you close or mothball an operation, then you forget that you're actually still legally obliged to do all the other things. The quarterly reporting that I was referring to is to the DMR. Dust is collected monthly basis, as you know. So if there's another one, we can always include that. Anyone else that has something?
Anthony, Nico, yeah. Sorry, I'm not putting my hand up. I think that dust story is crucial. If you take communities, and I just want to share a bit more, because that's something that we've had a lot of problems in the past. As you said that people take a 2-liter Coke bottle, they cut the top off and they stick it against the pole and they say that's dust monitoring. I don't think that's going to stand up anymore in the future. But what happens is we have a lot of problems with farms making dust, and then there's a quarry and the quarry gets blamed. We've had in the Milders Drift area, the road is dusty and the people complain and say the quarry makes the dust. So I think the whole thing about dust and communities and how we handle it is quite a crucial one, which we'll have to attend to. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, no, Nico, I think very, very valid point there. Felix, so you've got your hand up.
Thanks, Anthony. I think, yeah, very simple and straightforward information, which is quite valuable. One, I think it will help, Anthony, if you just share the presentation, to be shared with the teams as well. Just 2 comments is that, one, we're doing all this, but you don't find that the authorities are playing ball as well. And probably people could share experiences in other regions. It differs from region to region with regards to, you have people like Craig, who are consultants that are doing work on revising the EMPRs and performance assessments that get submitted to the regulatory authorities. But I mean, you have regions where we've submitted revised EMPRs for years, and you never get any feedback or approvals from the various regional offices. And you find that now the performance audits are based on unapproved EMPRs. I mean, you're lucky to get any quick response. There are 1 or 2 regions, that would even get feedback on the performance assessment or performance audit. So we end up doing this just for compliance purposes, yes, for our own internal purposes, to improve compliance on our operations and to improve conditions on our operations. However, you'd find that there's nothing that actually comes back from the regulatory authorities. That's one point. The second point is sharing of knowledge and training and capacity building of the site managers. There's too many of in the operations. You'd find that the training that our site managers have is more technical. Find engineers that have got a little or no environmental background, and compliance with environmental requirements becomes more of a nuisance to site managers, or it gets pushed to environmental officers, for those that are lucky to have officers on the side of operations. But also from time to time, I think there is a need. I mean, we used to have that a couple of years back. There are pressures at the moment, economically operations are not doing well. You're pushing volumes. And also COVID didn't make it easier as well. And there's a huge gap in as far as capacitating the site managers. I mean, I remember a couple of years back when I requested Craig, to do kind of training on why we're doing financial provisions on the sites, and what are the things that, the site managers can do in order to assist reduce liabilities. It's very good to do the financial provision assessments, but do the site managers understand why certain things are done and what is it they can do in the meantime to make sure that they help in making sure that their sites are compliant, and any assessments or audits done, do add value in their operations. So those are some of the things that probably, we start looking at as to how we actually now improve environmental compliance and as well as capacity building on our site operators or site managers or quality managers, if you call them that.
Yeah, Felix, I think, an important part of the first part of your comment, the authorities are not up to speed, we know that, but the whole purpose of this program, and we call it an audit, but it really is a program, is to get our house in order, so that one day when you do get an enthusiastic or over-enthusiastic inspector or somebody, you are prepared and you don't have to start fixing from the beginning. So yeah, I know you're fully, you're quite correct in what the authorities are saying. And in the audit, the document will make provision for that. If as long as things have been submitted, as long as your house is in order, you'll get the recognition for it. On the second point that you made there, it's going to be a bit of a difficult issue for a lot of site managers who, as you very rightly say, are technical guys. They're in production, they want to do this, they want to do that. But unfortunately, they are liable, and they're going to have to at least have an understanding of the requirements and what is needed, because they are personally liable. I mean, NEMA is vicious legislation, which you're very familiar with, and we need to protect these guys. So yeah. Nao, I see your hands up. Hello, Nao.
Hi, Anthony. Look, for my side, I really think this is very valuable. Thank you very much. It makes us think twice. We tend to forget a lot of things, and I think this was very valuable, especially when it comes to preparing and making sure that we have everything in place. Very excited about the manager's presentation. I cannot wait to have mine up. So yeah, no, thank you very much.
Great, Naya. Yeah, just on the manager's presentation, just for everyone's benefit, when we did the dry run, Leonard was obviously very nervous. I mean, he had this poor guy. We arrived there for the audit, and just 10 minutes after we got there, the DMR walked in as a surprise visit, and 10 minutes before we got there, his directors arrived as a surprise visit. So this poor guy was cut into three. But he gave us his presentation, and he was very proud of his operation, which was really great and looked good. And it was, I think, a huge learning curve for him. But very proudly, and the result of the audit was very good for him. So yeah, it's an important part. I just want to add something there. And folks must understand that this is not a punitive audit. This is a consultative type of process, and we decided right from the beginning. The old adage of it's a seagull visit, you fly and shit on somebody, eat your food and fly out again, is not going to cut it with this. This is a consultative thing where where Aspasa wants to help the industry to become compliant. And I think, just bear that in mind going forward as well. Nico, I'm sure will also underline that very strongly. Are there any other folk that would like to add in?
Anthony, I just want to add something, and I think that was probably something that we keep on forgetting, is that you find these days that top management tend to ask what value do they get. And I've been approached by top management saying that we are liable, and especially those companies that are on the stock exchange, which we have 2 or 3 of, if they don't get the environmental thing properly done, and it gets into the Sunday Times on the front page, you're going to have fun. So I have been told by a CEO of one of our biggest company that it gets discussed at each board meeting. So it's not to bugger around at the bottom here and do little stupid things. It's getting the company in line with the legal requirements, and make sure that a company does not get into trouble, because your environmental people, your press people could easily write an article about somebody pumping something into a river and you've got major problems. So I think we must never forget that, because that's quite important, that the CEO and the board members and the top executives are feeling safe, that somebody's looking after the stuff down there, because they don't do that. I mean, they haven't got time for that, and that's not their job. So I think I just wanted to raise that's one of the reasons why we are doing this thing properly. And if the manager then does get into trouble with the community or whoever, he knows his story, he's been prepared, and if he has to appear before the top guys in the company, he can also state his case. He's been prepared, he's been trained. Basically, that's what we're doing, to try and train the people and not send a consultant or somebody else to represent him. I think that's crucial, because I've been told, I've been instructed, I think that's the better word. I've been instructed that those people want to make sure that what we give on the environmental side, the same as health and safety, is up to standard and so forth and so forth. So I think I just wanted to share that, Anthony.
Thanks, Nico. Yeah, that's a very, very valid point. That. Letitia, I see your hands up.
Yeah, sorry, I had to dial out a while. I don't know if it was covered, but the presentation that is put together for this audit really train the managers, and we also let our interns, our environmental interns, develop it with the managers. So then you have 2 people learning at once. So the value add of the presentation for me, I think, is the biggest value of this audit.
Yeah, Letitia, thanks for that. Yes, we sang your praises quite well, at least I did. Unfortunately, you missed it. So yeah, we spoke very highly of that presentation that Leonard did. I think it certainly showed what, the quality of people and the quality of the site.
Anthony, just
Yep.
Nico again. Sorry, Letitia raised something very important, and I didn't focus on that. As you all know, we as Aspasa are now registered at EXA. That's the first thing that we need to know. We've also given the documentation. I must just fill it in when I have a gap, that we are also going to give the CPD points as Aspasa. Now, what has that got to do with the environmental audits? We could, if a person, and what Letitia raised now is very important, that the interns and the young professionals and those people, if they sit in on a full day audit, they can earn a CPD point, which is crucial, because it might want to register as an engineer or a whatever practitioner, whatever. So that's another strong service delivery thing that we as Aspasa have been working on, and we want that to also count as number 1 training, and number 2 is those who are registered with EXA, the Engineering Council, that they can then get a CPD point by sitting in on an environmental audit for a day. So I thought I'd just share that.
Thanks, Nico. Yeah, I was actually just about to ask you how far that had got. So yeah, that's another benefit of this. Folks, anybody else? Gone. Right. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for being on the call, and thank you for the assistance that we had on the subcommittee from the various people involved. Letitia, thank you, and raise that individually, because you gave a hang of a lot of input there. Felix, thank you for yours as well. It made the subcommittee very successful, and I just see there's another message there. Okay, and I think we can look forward to a very interesting future on the environmental side via Aspasa. So if there's nothing else, no one else got anything to say from my side, folks, thank you very much for your support during this process, and we are available if you would like to discuss something with us. We're available if you'd like advice on it. Nico can coordinate it, or you can contact me directly. I'm more than happy to assist you. And thank you all again, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. Thanks a lot to the team.
Thanks, Anthony. Take care.
Thank you, Anthony. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.